Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar entitled Attract and Retain Top Talent with World-Class Human Capital Management Technology, hosted by ADP and Triton Benefits and HR Solutions. My name is Melissa Cook, and I am the Director of Sales for Triton Benefits and HR Solutions. We are very excited to have people joining us from across the country today. This webinar was created to provide guidance and insight into ADP's Workforce Now technology, as well as reveal how an administration process steered by a team of professionals like Triton can significantly increase HR productivity. There are many technologies in the marketplace today, but there isn't a payroll and HR technology company with the depth and breadth of ADP or an ADP partner such as Triton, who together share the common goal of providing tremendous HR support. As an employee benefits broker and ADP partner, we complement the payroll offering with group health insurance, as well as provide in-house implementation experts for ADP's industry-leading payroll technology. Our expert team will walk you through every step of the transition, ensuring that your organization functions smoothly as you move forward to a powerful new HCM platform. We have the capacity and experience to assist and service all payroll and HR-related questions from implementation through the life of your account. The synergy between Triton and ADP is the perfect solution for your business. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our presenter from ADP, Dominic Belfield.
Thanks, Melissa. With almost 13 years of experience at ADP, I've watched the landscape of human capital management evolve over the years. It's constantly changing, and if you're not adapting, you're quickly falling behind. I'm confident in the technology that we will be showing you today, that it will allow you to streamline your processes, allowing you to be more efficient and effective as an employer of choice. Now I'd like to introduce our business consultant, Gina Finio, who will be leading today's demo. Go ahead, Gina.
Thank you very much. Yep, so just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Gina Finio. I'm a business consultant with ADP. Just means that I walk our clients through the technology, which is what we're going to do today. I do have a background in HR, so prior to coming on board with ADP, I was running payroll and doing billing for a home healthcare company. I spent some time doing recruiting and onboarding as well. If you wear one hat in the world of HR, at some point you kind of wear them all. So that's where my background lies, and since joining ADP, I just kind of merit our technology with what all the companies need in the HR world and showed how it's going to look for them. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and the portal page of Workforce Now should pop up, and this is where employees and managers and admin, everybody who's logging in is going to be brought to this portal page. Now, just to kind of set this up a little bit, you're seeing lots of icons on the home page. This is things that are totally customizable. I always put the quick link, so if there is somewhere that employees are going and spending more time than others, everybody can get there with just one quick link. If you want to put some widgets on there to add in some things like requesting time off, that's totally fine as well. But you have the option to really customize this, so you can use this to include some updates, maybe upcoming events, employee recognition, or tasks that people need to complete, really any kind of communication tool. And this can be dialed back so that different sets of people are seeing different sets of information. For example, maybe you have an update that's only going to managers. You can set that so that they're the only ones seeing that when they log in. Same with maybe different departments have different events coming up. This can be dialed back so that everybody, when they log in, is seeing exactly what you want them to. Now, typically, the employees are only going to see these first three tabs, the Home Resources and Myself tab, and that is going to help them, handle their own information, do things like change their address, maybe update their direct deposit, and things like that. Managers are then going to be able to see the first four tabs, so Home Resources and Myself and My Team, and this is so that they can manage their direct reports, help out with different processes that they're assigned to, and do things seamlessly throughout the system. Anybody who's considered administration, HR, going to be helping out with processes, running reports, maybe some executive level individuals, they're going to log in and see all of these tabs from home all the way to setup so that they can go throughout the system seamlessly. Now, maybe there's certain managers or certain individuals who are helping out in some areas and not others. For example, maybe there's a hiring manager and someone else is solely responsible for time and their jobs don't overlap. We can set that up for different security levels so that if there is somebody helping out in certain areas, they can access that within the database, but then they're not accessing the other places that maybe aren't wanted. So there's a lot of different security levels, and we help all the clients with that during implementation to get all of that set up. So like I said, with those self-service features, they're going to come in. They can do things like update their address, make those changes, and we can build in some workflows so that if somebody does do something like change their phone number or change their address, we can set that so that the next time, when they make that change, the next time that admin logs in, they're going to actually see all those changes and approve those changes. They'll have a little alert up here that something needs their approval, and then all of that gets worked through those approval levels before making that change official in the system. So we have lots of options to set up those approval paths. And then all the employees are coming in here to manage their information, but we want them to have the ability to view it on the go as well. So I'm going to pull over the mobile app here. This is just an extension of that employee self-service, so everything that they can handle from that portal, same thing on here. They just get to a nice scrollable landing page. They can click into things like pay statements, actually can download some of those statements right to their phone. And you can look at pay statements, tax statements, your 401k information, and handle time card and time information from here as well, time off, benefits, pretty much everything, like I said, from that portal can be managed from the mobile app as well. So we're just giving them that extension. And this is free on the App Store. I believe it's the #2 most downloaded business app. So there's a lot of user functionality on there. We're always staying up to date. If you have an iPhone, you can log in using your fingerprint, or an iPhone X actually can log in using their face recognition. So we just want to have that ability to do it on the go so that employees have all their information whenever they need it. Now, just to kind of put the last piece of this picture together, we do have something called LifeMart. This is something that you get complimentary with working with ADP. It's an employee discount program with access to over 40,000 vendors, and there's some really incredible saving options in here. So this is something, like I said, no additional cost, comes complimentary with working with ADP, and you can offer this to all the employees at any level. There's a ton of different saving options in here. I always run Christmas gifts through here, have booked car rentals from vacation as well, and I actually know somebody who bought their car off of here. So just a lot of saving options. You can put something like this, a link on the portal page. That portal page can have external links, so LifeMart is a great option. If anyone wanted to put, you know, maybe the company website as a link, totally fine, but we can link to those external websites as well on this portal page. So this is going to look, like I said, exactly how you want it to, and we're going to walk through some of the processes today and just talk about how the different modules look within the system and the database, kind of keeping it all in one. So we've got this one unified system, and we're just going to be walking through each process. So we'll start kind of with the beginning with recruiting. So when we're ready to bring somebody on board, we're going to come into this requisition dashboard, and that's going to hold all of our open positions. So we can kind of start from scratch to build these, or we can use one of the templates. You're doing things, when I say build these, like when I say build these, I mean things like deciding whether or not they need to include a resume. How much information does this individual get on the job? You know, are we going to require them to go into background? Just those kind of preliminary things. And then we're going to build out all those questions. So of course we're going to get the resume, but we can add in some posting questions so that as individuals are applying, we're going to be able to see a lot of their information and get them to fill out the things that are most important to us. And this can help sort some of these resumes with the use of our knockout questions. So knockout questions are going to, like I said, do some auto filtering. So this is a pretty simple example. Are you at least 18 years old? If they answer no, then that candidate is automatically going to go into a separate bucket. And then when you log in to see this particular requisition, you're only going to see those who are truly eligible because they answered yes. Now this can be pretty complex. What we're looking at in this particular rec is an area supervisor position. So this question could be, do you have at least 3 to 5 years of manager experience? If the answer is no, we still might want to consider that candidate for something else, such as an associate position, even though they aren't really meeting the requirements for that particular rec that they did apply for. But then we still get all of their info. We can still consider that candidate, but then when I'm going in to look at my area supervisor role, I'm only seeing those that are truly eligible and answered yes. So that's one way to kind of help save some time there with recruitment. When you are finished making all of your requisitions, any changes, updates, and all that kind of stuff, we're going to kind of pull everything together so that when you hit submit, it's going to update to all of your job boards within one click. So we link with Career Builder, Monster, Indeed, LinkedIn, Facebook, a couple others, I believe ZipRecruiter, there'll be some others on the horizons. We also can link with your company site. Or if we have some maybe smaller sites that aren't as common, maybe local sites, newspapers, those kinds of things that we don't have that direct feed into, we can still provide an embedded link so that you can still post to all of those. So as you update these recs, just that one click is going to filter and out to all of those sites, make that update for you, so you're not logging into Facebook, logging out, logging into Indeed, logging out, and such to update all of these things. Just one quick click, and it's all going to be updated for you. So that should save a ton of time right then and there. On the candidate side, as they apply, we're going to have them come in to fill out their applications based on all those questions, and they can fill things out by grabbing things from their LinkedIn, their Facebook, and their Google+. I know when I was first looking for jobs on LinkedIn, there was some options to kind of auto-grab things from my resume, kind of the same idea here, and that's just going to make things a little easier for them, which just means they're more likely to complete that application, which means you're going to see more traffic. They can also fill out their application from a desktop or a mobile device. So again, just giving them more options to complete that is going to mean you're going to see more traffic. As everything is coming through, all those applications, if you look at this sourcing efficiency over here on the right-hand side, this is going to show you where your best talent is coming from so that you can just kind of know where your recruitment efforts are best spent. So for example, right here with Indeed, we can see we received 10 applications and we went on and hired 40% of them. So that's a pretty good turnaround, whereas here on Facebook, I got 15 resumes, but I didn't hire any of them. So that's not really where I probably want to be spending my time. I probably want to go back out and spend more of my time in Indeed, especially if I need to source for anything. That's going to be where my best candidates are coming from. So it's just a nice little way to keep track of where your efforts are best spent, know where you should be spending some more investments. So here we have all of the applications here, just like we talked about. So you can see the knockout as that bottom one. If we did want to view some of those candidates, we absolutely can. All these statuses are ones that you can kind of customize. So if you have multiple interviews, you can set it so that their status is at interview 1 or interview 2. You can kind of customize some of these. And then some workflows can be built in, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. We're going to actually open up an application and see what that looks like. It's going to give you a nice sort of living resume type look so that it's really nice to look at. You can see all the information, see where they answered the questions. And you can see here, we can also notice when they maybe applied to another job here on the left-hand side. So if a candidate has applied to more than one position, we'll be able to then see if they have put in an application in more than one area. So maybe if they are knocked out of one requisition, we can still consider them for others. So as we make changes to their status, we can set some workflows here. So when we change the status, let's say that this individual is not going to be considered for a future position. We can set this so that when you change their status to rejected, they automatically get a communication email. This one right here on this candidate's page, this is an automatic thank you for applying. Kind of same thing after they applied and they became status new applicant, automatically send out that communication to them. Hey, thanks for applying. We know you're interested. Someone's going to reach out to you. You could do that with rejection. So thank you for applying. We're not able to move on at this time. And as they go through the interview process, you can send out different email templates as well. And they're built into the system, of course. As they go through the interview process, you can schedule through the portal as well, add notes. So if there's different people interviewing, they can keep track of all their opinions. And then once we are ready to hire a candidate, it's going to be really easy to just get them started with just one click to get that offer letter started, hire that candidate, or if we need to get them started in background, that's also available here too. But the thought really is we're keeping everything in one database. So we're starting with recruitment. We have all of this candidate information, her email, her information such as phone numbers, where she's living, all this stuff. And so when we start that process of hiring the candidate, we're going to grab a lot of that information. So a lot of rekeying taken out of the process, a lot of back and forth taken out of the process. We already have a lot of that info. And then we're going to kind of get the rest of it from the candidate during the onboarding process. So we hit hire that candidate, and then that is going to generate a username and password for that individual. And then they're going to be able to get started within the system as a regular employee. So this portal that we're looking at and have been working in so far, this is where all the active employees go. So when you have a new hire or somebody where you just are ready to bring them on board and you're ready to get them started with paperwork, you're going to send them that username and password, say, hey, you need to get started in the system. We're ready to get you all of your information. And when they click on that link, this portal page that you're looking at is not going to be the first thing that they see. They're instead first going to be brought to a setup wizard. And the setup wizard is going to help us get all that information. And then on the employee side, they're going to get a lot of info about the company that can kind of help a lot of that first day tension be eased and make them feel a little more comfortable. So this is something that you can send out before day one, like I said, so that they get all the info of the company on their side so that they feel good about day one, and you get all their paperwork on the back end. So I turned on every feature here just to show you how interactive this can be, but you can certainly take some out and make this a little more simple if you wanted to. I'm going to show you all the features just so that you know all your options. So you got here a nice welcome message, and then here's what you can expect. When you hit get started, that's going to bring you to the next page. This is a nice company video. So a nice option here to put in some culture insight. It's a good branding opportunity. This can also help kind of set the expectations with that employee from day one of, hey, this is really what this company stands for and is like. They can get more excited and just feel like they have a little more information about the values and mission of the organization. The team tab here, this is going to put some faces to names with who they're going to be working with. We can change some of this language. So if you want this to say, you know, your supervisor, your mentor, your pod, we can change all that. But this is just a nice way to say, hey, here's who you're working with. Get ready to meet everybody and get excited. And then on the back side, when they want to feel like everyone's going to meet them, they can upload their picture, put in a little status, and this will help them feel a little more secure within the organization. Now, just to show you the other two optional features first, and then we're going to go to that paperwork section. Company video, another great branding opportunity just to get all that information in there into the employee's brain. And then the About Us here, that's going to be any text, maybe a company history or any bragging rights that you might want to throw in. And last is the neighborhood tool. So this is going to show the employee the surroundings of where they're going to be working so they can do things like plan their commute, figure out where they're going to get coffee in the morning or lunch. This is just a great way to say, hey, you're going to be spending a lot of time with us. Here's some ways to make it a little easier. You know, we're thinking about you. And this can even help build some satisfaction with the employee right from the bat. Now, just to go back to the bread and butter of onboarding, which is paperwork. So this step is going to be all of your paperwork served up at once. These are very simple online forms. So when we open up this I-9, we're getting just field by field, filling out all that information, and the employee is going through step by step and hitting submit. And then just like how I mentioned, when an employee makes something such as an address change or any sort of update, we have those approval processes. Kind of the same idea. So an employee here is going to, as a new hire, fill out their information. And then in the system, we're going to get a notification that says, hey, John Smith has filled out his I-9. It needs your approval. And then after that is approved, all that info is going to populate throughout the system. And then we won't have to do any of that rekeying for things like, the emergency contacts, the direct deposit, and all of that. Now we do have electronic signature attestation, so we can handle things like signing off on company policies. We can build in, maybe acknowledging your handbook or other things like that, so that anything that they need to sign off on in their onboarding process is also electronic. If you needed anybody to download some forms, we can build that in. Don't think there's only room for one space left. We can definitely handle more than 6 pieces of paperwork in this section. But the thought is really we help you build all this, again, in implementation so that when someone is brought on board, you're just clicking to send them the paperwork, and before their first day, you've got all their info, and day one really becomes more about orientation and figuring out the training for their role, and less about filling out all that paperwork and getting all the logistical things done. So if you have marked anything in here as needing their attention or required, when that employee tries to come down to the summary section and exit their onboarding experience, anything they tried to skip that you marked as required will be flagged as needing their attention, so they will have to go back and complete that step before they are able to exit the portal or exit the onboarding experience and go back into the portal. So it's a great way to just kind of keep employees engaged right from the get-go, because they have all of these great interactive tools. They're seeing videos on the company. They're really getting the right expectations. So by the time they show up for day one, they should be really excited, ready to train, and you can be sure that they're already on a great path, right from day one. So we're going back into the portal. We're going to take a look at where all that information went. We just got a ton of great info from that employee, and we want to see where it all goes in the system. So first, we do have something called the Document Cloud. This is your electronic personnel files. So this is something that you can load up years and years worth of storage into and not worry about running out of any space. This is, like I said, unlimited storage, so we can handle years and years of documents, even going past if we want to upload some things that are currently in files so that we can get rid of that physical space. Not going to have to worry about running out of that here. So we can subcategorize. So if you want to have a subcategory for onboarding, all that paperwork can go right into that section after approvals. However you have, the current physical files organized, we can do that in here. And then you can, of course, export anything. If you do need to keep hard copies of something, you can kind of organize these as you would like. And we also can tag expiration dates on these documents. So if there's things that don't last forever that need to be maintained, certifications, licenses, even some training documents, things like that, when they get uploaded into the system, we just want to tag an expiration date on there. So then both the employee and the manager are going to get notified 30 days, 15 days, and 5 days prior to when that document expires. You can also run reports on upcoming expiring documents if you wanted to see things in a bigger window. But that way, anything that does need to be maintained can be handled within the system, and everything's tied back to this employee. They can upload their forms. We can do those approval processes. So maybe something is going to expire. They upload their new form, and then after we approve it, it goes into their system. So all of the employee documents should definitely be able to be handled here. So that's where anything they might have uploaded, their I-9, all this we're going to see in here. And then we'll take a look at where the rest of that information goes. So we have a ton of different profiles within the system, and that's kind of going to be where all of that info is in a nice viewable pane for us. So here we've got the personal profile. This is going to be kind of the basics, so demographics, address information. I want to bring your attention down here to custom fields. So we can track some other things that maybe aren't already built into the system that are important to you. So, shoe size, t-shirt size, uniform size, if we have things like that. I heard of a client that wanted to track everybody's favorite color for birthday purposes. Really anything that is going to be custom to your organization. You can set that custom field, just get the employee's preference or size or whatever it is once, and then you're just running an order whenever it's time to get that new t-shirt order in. You're just running a report. You're getting everybody's size right in there and not having to chase everybody down, that kind of thing. So we'll get more into reporting in just a second. We're going to take a look at a couple more profiles. So taking some of that HR information a little deeper, we've got the statutory compliance profile. So this is going to track that I-9 information, anything they might have disclosed on those voluntary forms. And then we can also keep track of OSHA events and days taken for FMLA from this page as well. So that when you're viewing these profiles, you're really getting the full picture of that individual. Going to take things one more step further with the talent profile. So this is going to show things like licenses, certifications, training, skills. And if you remember, we did bring a lot of this info in from recruitment all the way to here. So a lot of this is going to come from their resume. You're not rekeying all this info. If we have it in the system once, you're not going to need to enter it again. So we've got their previous employers, all those things from the resume. They're going to lie here. And again, no rekeying or anything like that. So just to show you the last profile, employment profile, this is going to be the things surrounding their actual position, so where they're working, how much they're getting paid, who they're reporting to, and all that good stuff. So we've got all this HR system information in the system, and we want to be able to view it all when we want, how we want, and in the way that we want. So we have a ton of reporting capabilities within the system. These are all the overhead categories, but we have a ton of standard reports that are built into the system that at any time you can come in, click run, and you're just choosing the format in which you want to export it, and that report is going to pop in your inbox just a minute later. So all these reports underneath these categories, they're pre-populated with fields, so you're not doing any of the heavy lifting. The system is really doing it for you. Now, we do have custom reporting if that's kind of going to be easier to build things on your own and not have the system do the heavy lifting for you. That's great. We can start totally from scratch and build a custom report. You could also start with a standard report, kind of manipulate it from there if there's just a couple of changes that you want to make. Or you can go in, start from scratch, see the full list of fields. Another way to do this custom reporting is use of the field grabber. So in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm going to flip on the field grabber, and this is going to show me all of the fields that are available within the page that I'm looking at that are able to be reported on. So this is kind of like on-the-go custom reporting. You're just seeing, okay, I can now grab whatever information is most important to me, and I'm going to pull all this into my report. And then after I have all the information, that I need, all I'm doing is just, again, choosing the format that I want to that I want to export it in. So we can also move around to different places within the system if we do want to kind of see some different views when we create this report. We do have cross-module reporting, so it's not as if you have to just create a payroll report and that's it. So when you're toggling in and out of these different screens, any information that you're wanting to include in that report, you can absolutely just grab, drag it in, and then create that report. So I want to show you a couple examples. The first is a custom report that I built using the field grabber. So most of these fields were found on the employment profile, so you know where they're working, who they're reporting to, when they came on board. These fields were all ones that I chose. I renamed the report employee information, and then I chose to export this in PDF format. So I had full reins here. I had all the decisions in what this looked like, how this was exported, and then it was, of course, just delivered to me a minute later. So that's just an example of a custom report. I'll show you an example of one of our standard reports as well. This is an employee directory. So this was one that I did not manipulate. I did not choose any of these fields. They were chosen for me. The system did all the heavy lifting. All I had to do was just choose to export it in Excel. Popped up for me a minute later. I can, of course, kind of manipulate this Excel spreadsheet from here if I want to. But like I said, the system really did most of the heavy lifting for me here. So just a couple other things to mention with reporting. We do have the use of scheduled reports. So if you spend some time building a custom report that you really, really like, or even if you just want it delivered to you every Monday, the first of every month, or even after a particular workflow has been completed, we can set that to reoccur. So then you're not having to recreate that report. You're not having to even remember to run it. It's automatically going to run for you. So for example, you can have some standard reports automatically pop into your inbox once payroll is ran. You can create a custom report that has different employee information, and you want that to be delivered to you the first of every month so you always have an up-to-date roster. Absolutely fine. Or even if you just build out a report that you say, I don't want to have to build this again. I just want it delivered to me every week. Totally fine. So that way you're not even going in to pull reports. If you do schedule a report, you can send it to others so it can be automatically delivered to them as well. And so everything really surrounding, reporting should be available within the system. So just some other example reports, we do have different employment reports. If you wanted to do some exception reports for time and attendance, approaching overtime, any benefit or benefit invoice reports. And again, we can do cross-module reporting. So if you wanted to create a custom report, started out with some benefit information, added in some time and attendance info, anything that is housed in the system, we can report on. Okay, so we're going to keep getting that individual brought into the system. So we recruited this employee, we got them onboarded, and we looked at some of those HR features and how we can view all that information. So the last piece of that puzzle in getting the employee set up is their benefits. So we can see here, I put this right on the home page for new hires. Hey, you still need to make your benefit selections. You can do that here. So with enrollments with ADP, first of all, employees can at any time come in and view what their current selections are. They don't have to wait for open enrollment or anything like that. They can always view their selections, can even do some from the mobile app. And then when we do have an open enrollment event or even a life event, something that's going to require some action, we're going to see the start button up here to give it a go. So we work really hard with our clients during implementation to get this set up so that when employees log in and are going to make their selections, they are only seeing the plans that they are truly eligible for and nothing more, nothing less. So a lot of times with that big onboarding packet that's kind of universally distributed to everybody, we get a lot of questions of what applies to me, what doesn't, what can and I can't select. That's all taken out in this equation, so that should alone take off a lot of the questions that often come through HR during open enrollment. And then a lot of the details of this plan are delivered in a nice way to kind of compare. So we can see details of what the differences in each plans are side by side. It's kind of like a nice online shopper view. So we can see all of the specific differences. We can know what the true differs are, and so we know that we make the best selections. And this is also something that can be done at home. Doesn't have to be completed at the office or anything. They can do this from their home, from their mobile app, just so that anybody who is going to be involved in all these plans can be there when those decisions are made, and everybody can feel good about those enrollments. So as everybody makes their selections, what this is going to look like for practitioners on the back end is just kind of a one-stop shop for all of open enrollment in this dashboard. It's going to show you all the information in one screen. So we can see here the start and end dates of our event, how many days are remaining in the process, as well as how many employees are still where in that process as well. So employees are already going to get a notification that they have something such as benefits due within the system, but you can send out some additional reminders and nudges just to kind of keep employees moving along. You can approve enrollments from this screen as well, or export any waive information. And we do have something called carrier connections. So we work with the providers so that when people are selecting their benefits, the info is going to directly feed right into those carriers' networks. So they're not having to export info and import it, where we often get some reconciliations that happen. All of this is going to be totally streamlined. So there should be no issues here. All the invoices should be absolutely accurate. And there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting that comes off of HR also, as those changes and selections feed right into the providers. So benefits definitely becomes all electronic here. We kind of get rid of that paper packet, make things super easy for employees to go in, make their selections. And then, of course, with benefits always comes the Affordable Care Act. So we want to make sure that our clients have everything they need surrounding the ACA and all of its requirements. So we've got this nice dashboard here that's going to do a couple of things. This dashboard will alert you if there is any action that needs to be taken. So for example, an employee becomes newly eligible or if someone is terminated from the system, those kinds of things. But really what ADP does is we conduct monthly audits to ensure proper reporting of coverage. And then all of the information that's gathered in those audits is going to feed directly into the 1094 and 1095 forms, and ADP processes and files them for you. So like I said, we do have this intermittent action. If there is anything in between audits that needs follow-up, we've got that alert. But really with those audits, we should have the ACA kind of taken care of for us, all the heavy lifting off of our plate. And we also know that we're staying totally compliant. You know, legislation is always changing, rules and requirements are always being updated, and ADP is on top of that. So as anything does change, you're going to be sure that you are absolutely compliant the whole time since ADP has your back. All right, so that employee is all set up in the system now. You know, we got them recruited, onboarded. Now they're all set up with HR and benefits. So we're going to take a little bit of a look at time and run a payroll. So with time always comes paid time off. So you can see here I added this right on the home page to make things easy for myself. So I can come in here, view my balances. We're going to get copies of the policy during implementation so that employees are accruing time according to policy. And then you can see here when requests do get made, kind of syncs up with the schedule. So time, PTO, payroll, all kind of speaking to each other, just like everything within the system, so that as that request is made, it's going to take place of the schedule, and others can see that I'm out as well. So managers, as they approve that time, they're actually going to see this nice calendar where they can see who else is going to be off, where everybody is that day. Just make sure that when they do approve any of those requests, that we know that operations is not going to be affected in any way. So time and attendance and PTO all kind of sync together just to make things super easy for us. So that's kind of the PTO part. Now we're going to look at some scheduling options. So before we talk about clocking in and out, we want to build in these schedules. So we've got base schedules that are available in the system. Employees can work a rotating schedule or kind of a set schedule. That's totally optional. We want all the schedules to reflect, you know, what the employer wants. And then they can view this by employee, so they can see that recurring schedule, or if they would rather view by job or project, if there's something going on, or even a department that's missing some individuals and you want to view this way, that's totally fine, so that you can really assign everybody where they need to go, make sure that there's enough coverage in all those areas and everything like that. So to get these set up, we of course have templates in the system. They can be, we can add some in. So if there is a particular shift that someone's always working, after you have it in your system as a template, you're just assigning it to individuals, and then you'll see all of that reflected within their schedule. Now we can also view who is not scheduled. So maybe if we're trying to move some things around, we want to see who's not on the schedule this week, we can view it that way, or from the opposite, just viewing people who are on the schedule. So a ton of different options around scheduling, just to make sure that everybody is going to be working, you know, where you want them to. And then as we get those clocks in and outs, we're going to get a lot of information on the back end. Now I just want to note, with any salary employees, you can still use the schedule in the system, and then they can have their time go straight to payroll, so we're not looking at actually clocking in and out or approving time cards. Or you could have them approve just their straight time. You know, whatever works for you. Just want to let you know that salary employees, definitely easy to kind of streamline right into payroll. And then with hourly employees, as they clock in and out, we get a ton of information, like I said. So here we've got this My Time on the home page. I'm going to just quick click here to clock in, and already that's going to punch for me. Now when we clock in on the web browser, we can do some geofencing around that IP address, so they're only clocking in when they are on your server. And then here we can do some transfers. We can do tracking of different locations or departments. You can actually set up some of these parameters for when they first clock in. If you want them to choose their department upon first punch, not just transfer, you're kind of setting up the parameters around time and attendance just to make sure that when they clock in, you're getting all the info from that individual. Now we can also grab their punches from the mobile app as well. And there are some geofencing features that are available there also. So if we have that geofence around your office or that location where the employee is going to be working, then when that employee does go to clock in, they're not going to be able to clock in unless they are at the location in which they're supposed to be to clock. So that is another way to capture time. And then we also have kiosks or time clocks that can be installed on location. They are biometric time clocks, so we can read some fingerprints there and not worry about button punching, that kind of stuff. And we've got the mobile app or the kiosk, like I said, as well. So we can get punches a couple different ways. So if an employee does want to clock in via their PC, clock out using their mobile app, that's fine. Anything that the employer has turned on or off, the employee can kind of clock whatever way works best for them. And then as we get all of that time information, it's all going to be pulled into their time card. And we're going to see some of the information based on what their schedule was and what they actually punched. So Mr. Albert here, he works a 9:30 to 6 p.m. schedule. So we can see here, first of all, this is really glaring for us the day that he missed out his out punch. So that can be fixed by either the employee or their manager. Just like I talked about earlier, we can do some approval processes. So maybe you want employees to approve their time first, then managers, and then it goes to payroll, or maybe just to managers, kind of that same thing. And then we also can see when this employee was clocking in early, clocking in late. We can see some of that overtime hours as well. So we're getting a lot of info just from this time card. Now just to show you what it would look like for an employee who's maybe salaried, or even if individuals are entering time, not physically clocking in and out, it would look a little more like this. So you just see all the hours worked. And again, they can approve this time or it can flow right to payroll. Now all of these headings that you see here, location, department, hours, these are things that are chosen by the employer, what you want included on that time card, so that any information that you're tracking, you're seeing all that info within that screen. There's a couple other ways to approve time. Managers, can approve by exceptions. So if we know that employees are really great with their time and we just kind of want to look at maybe who's missing a punch, things like that, we can see that here, and then with a quick click to manage that info, and then we can add in maybe when that employee might have left. So that's another way to handle time. You could also handle this by viewing the group time card. So this is instead of showing us the full pay period of one individual employee, it's actually going to show us all the employees day by day. So this would be a great way for managers if they're approving each day to kind of see what the employees worked yesterday. They can approve that way. So you can see there's just a ton of different options for clocking in and out, so that, for approving time cards, so that no matter how, it's going to work best for that manager, they've got all of their information to them and approving it all so that it all looks good for payroll. So we're going to pull all this into payroll, of course. And again, we're pulling all this from just within the same database, so it's all going to be accurate. It's all going to look good for us, and it's going to make our lives a lot easier to know that we're just grabbing it from one part of the system and pulling it into the next. So this dashboard that you're looking at, this is the payroll dashboard. So this is going to be where you come in when it's ready to, when you're ready to process payroll. So the first thing you do here is make sure that your employee roster is up to date. So you can see there we have no new hires, no terminations. We just want to make sure that anybody who should be paid is going to be accounted for, of course. So after that looks good, we're then going to go into the payroll inputs. So the payroll inputs is where we're actually grabbing that time and attendance data. We're going to pull it from one part of the system and just bring it into another. So again, all of that info is going to be totally streamlined for accuracy. And so we're just clicking adding this time off batch. When we open this up, if there are any pending processes, anything that has missed our attention, so a pending PTO request or possibly a time card that was missed, we're going to see that, and then it's going to be just a quick link here to handle that info. If everything looks good, it's going to look a little more like this. We're not going to have any errors. We can see that check looks good here, but this can help if there's things like a manager that's out, some of that PTO wasn't approved. Just kind of clicking that quick to open that up. We're going to include that in the batch, run that payroll. And then what's really important to note with our payroll is that we have a nice preview button so that when you're ready to process and you click preview, it's actually going to calculate all the totals of your payroll package and show you some insight into what that is going to look like. And then you have the option to go back, make corrections, just kind of make sure that everything looks good before sending off that package officially by hitting accept. So this payroll screen is something that helps out a lot of companies. You can compare to previous weeks. You can view all of the payroll reports that would be available to you after hitting process. You can see that all from this preview screen. So any reports from payroll that's important to you, you can open up that full statistical summary if you want to deep dive into the taxes and such. But payroll really is definitely taken care of here. And then after you hit that accept button and you're ready to send that package off to ADP, you're then going to go into the general ledger interface, and that is going to take care of the GL for you. So ADP really helps you out from start to finish in terms of time, from PTO and clocking in all the way to your GL. And that GL file, we take your chart of accounts and custom write that for you so that it's import ready to go into your financial package. So like I said, kind of from step one all the way to the end, you can handle it all within the system and then get all that info where it needs to go. All right, so we did a lot in this system so far today. I just kind of want to tie it all together with analytics. So we have something called Data Cloud, which is available in the system, kind of similar to what I said about reporting. Analytics is the ability to view your information when you want it, how you want it, and in a way that is a little more strategic thinking, a little more big picture. So we have all these metrics that are being tracked within this system. The Data Cloud, the analytics feature, it's really just that big picture of all your info. So these metrics here, some of these are on the dashboard, but they're all just different aspects of each module. So we can open up different things if we're concerned about how many people we're bringing on board, what our headcount looks like, how much our payroll overtime is costing us, even earnings. We can dive into how long it's taking us to fill a position and what that looks like over time. So just to open up one of these, I'm going to bring up the average earnings. So if I'm concerned about where all of my earnings are being distributed, we can kind of view this over time. We can dial back and view this by location or department, even by job function, so that really whatever metric is kind of giving you the most trouble, where you're trying to fix some sort of issue, you can really dive into that information the way that you really want it to. So no matter what your goal is, you see all that info. Now another way to kind of handle this is by benchmarking. So you can see this purple line that's included here. That's the ADP benchmark. So with benchmarking, we have some really incredible amount of payroll information housed within our system, and we want clients to just be able to see that information to stay competitive. So they're honestly sharing all that information so you can see where your payroll is against others, and there's a ton more to benchmark. So it's just going to kind of keep you competitive and staying where you should within different metrics. So you can see all the things that you can benchmark here. You can even benchmark your overtime, your turnover. So if you want to know what's my turnover compared to others in my industry, are we seeing more than others? You can really dive into that. And then we have all these exploring tools up here. So I'm going to go from the bottom up. First, you've got pay equity. This is something that's kind of on the horizon with some updating in legislation, so identifying some pay gaps. We're going to need to report on all that, show we're doing our due diligence. So pay equity is going to help us to identify those, and then we can kind of dive into where those exist, figure out why they exist, and then do our best to close them. So this is just a nice way to kind of explore where all of those do lie. Next is turnover probability. So with turnover probability, this is actually going to take different factors such as length in a position, compensation for a position, even commute time, things like that. And it's going to show you where that employee lies based on others in their role. And then that can show you kind of based on those benchmarks who might be at risk for leaving. So if somebody's benchmark for compensation is below the level, that would be a reason to flag them as possible turnover because they're not really getting paid what they could be making elsewhere. Also, you know, maybe they haven't had a promotion in a long time and most people in their position get promoted after a year and a half. Just things like that so that you can identify where some of the problems lie, maybe fix them before they happen. It's a great way to get a handle on turnover if that is something that is of concern. And then last is this annual compensation. This is actually my favorite one to explore. It's going to break up the nation by state, sub-region, even metropolitan areas, and it's going to show different pay rates based on where they are. So we've got all that pay information. We know what the average employee makes, and probably it's going to be a little different in California to Kansas, to New York, to Montana, and everywhere in between. So we take quality of life into account here, so we're going to know what the differences is. Same with if we dial this back to the metropolitan area or such, so you know somebody who's in NYC might be getting paid a little differently than somebody who's in Albany, just things like that. So we're taking all of that into account, and then we can also search for particular jobs from this Explorer as well. So when you're ready to bring somebody on board, maybe we're looking for an HR generalist, what do they normally get paid? Then we can see what that average earning looks like. We can see what it looks like from different state to state, even city to city if we want to dial back, just so that we know when we offer that position, hey, we're staying competitive. These are what others in our industry are, or even surrounding us, are offering. And then we can also benchmark some other things from this screen. So you see salary, we've got total cash here, overtime, bonuses, even tenure in a position can be benchmarked, just so you really know from start to finish how competitive you're staying, where everybody else lies, and all that good stuff. Now, on this homepage, we have all these different dashboards. Some of them come automatic, so you see benefits, recruitment, those are kind of the overhead categories, and we have all those metrics built in. But we can also customize this, so we've got this My HCM view. If we have particular metrics that are most important to us that we're always tracking, we can make a custom view so that we're always keeping track of the things that are most important to us, and it's going to be right on top for us there. And then if we do go ahead and create this dashboard, we can even throw that right on the portal page here under Company Insights. So as managers or executives are signing in, they are logging in, and the first thing they're seeing is the information, you know, that's most important to them. So it's a great way for some of the higher levels in the company to really have their hands on all that information. Seeing it all in that big picture really helps you to think strategically. And then I do think it's really important just to stretch again that we have, you know, cross modules here, so we're getting all of the analytics in one place for the time, the onboarding and recruiting efforts, any HR information. It's all within this system, so reporting becomes easy, analytics, same thing, and we're all keeping that within the same database, single sign-on, and all that good stuff. So just to recap everything that we went through, because we did touch on a lot of information so far. You know, we did talk about kind of the portal, all the self-service features, and setting up different security levels for everybody who's going to be logging into the system. We looked at recruiting, bringing somebody on board, and how it's going to be easy to kind of manage that right from the get-go with uses of knockout questions and those workflows with communication and all of that. Then we looked at onboarding, actually bringing somebody into the organization, getting all their paperwork totally electronic, and then streamline all that right into HR. Took a look at the document cloud so that we could see where our employee files can be housed. And then we looked at all those reporting features as well, so you know how you can view all that employee information also. We got someone set up in benefit selection, so you got to see how that paperless process would look, and of course handling ACA from this portal as well. And then we looked at time, PTO, clocked in and out, and actually ran that payroll so we can see how all of that kind of comes together, all those modules, and then of course finished with the analytics features so that all those strategic thinkers get to see that insights Analytics is updated in real time, and benchmarking is updated quarterly. So this is really going to help you stay competitive, get that top talent, and keep them, and also just keep all of your HR information in one place. Like I said before, one single sign-on, and anybody who is logging in is going to have access to what you want. And then, of course, all those different features to help you stay competitive. So that's Workforce Now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Gina. That was so amazing. I mean, I can't believe how much technology has come along in just a short time. I mean, talk about really getting an edge on your competition and looking at to stay competitive to make sure that you're, taking care of your employees, making sure that they're happy. So thank you so very much for showing us that comprehensive demo today of the technology. I would like to thank everyone else on the line, too, for joining us today. We recognize that your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending the last hour with us. Please note that some housekeeping, that a copy of this webinar is going to be hosted on our website. That's tritonhr.com. It's Triton HR, and it will be under the Resources tab. You can also find that recording within 48 hours of today. And if you have any questions or about the material that we covered today, or if you would like to know a little bit more about the ADP technology, feel free to reach out to me. It's Melissa Cook. It's melissa.cooke@tritonhro.com. It's tritonhro.com. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.